Also watch what some of these damaging storms have already done. We want to go to Mike Seidel in Donelson. That's a neighborhood just to the east of Nashville and north of the airport. Mike Seidel joins us live. Mike.
Hey, Chris, good afternoon. Some of the worst damage from the tornado or tornadoes, we're not sure yet. We're waiting from the Weather Service for their word. Hit here, the east side of Nashville, the Donelson area. They had about a 6-minute heads up on the warning, and there's debris everywhere, including the house behind me, which is a total loss, and the front brick facade has been blown down. This may be where they saw the high-end EF-3 winds estimated at 160 to 165 miles an hour. And the owner of the home, Hunter Briley, joins us. Hunter, glad to see you're okay. Your wife's okay. Your dog's okay, but you have a heck of a story. But on a lighter note, look at this. We're looking down the street, and we see the Amazon truck. and tell me what happened.
Even without a front porch, they were able to deliver our package on time.
That's amazing.
Anytime you can grab a smile in something like this, we took the opportunity.
It's incredible. We couldn't believe it. So we'll hand the package over here so you don't have to hold on to it. Tell me a little bit about what happened early yesterday morning, how you got the warning and what took place in those first few minutes.
Sure. So about 12:30, I think the tornado sirens in town started going off. Woke me up. My wife and I were asleep in what was our bedroom down on that end of the house. I turned the news on, and we were given a 3-minute heads up that the tornado cell was going to hit Donelson right around then. So woke her up, grabbed the dogs, and we ran downstairs into our basement. We have 2 dogs, they're boxers. Our little boy ran back upstairs just out of fear, I believe, jumped in our bed. So I ran back upstairs and grabbed him and carried him back to the downstairs area. And literally, as my feet were hitting the last step, the house came down on me. And wow. The entire back wall fell on top of me. I got out of it and ran over to my wife and jumped on top of her and cuddled the dogs in with us and put a blanket over us. And then the house, it felt like an explosion because of the pressure change, I guess. That's what you guys talk about all the time.
Right. So you were over here, but on the level, the bottom level.
We were on the bottom level of that against this back wall is where we were, hiding from everything.
And how long were you down there after the tornado? Because you know what happens and it's gone in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it literally felt like 20, 30 seconds at the most that it actually happened. And then it started raining in our basement. So we thought, well, we definitely have damage. I don't know what it all is.
No
but
roof.
I poked my head out, and my truck was in our pool, and looked up and noticed that the entire house was gone.
Let's walk around back.
Yeah, sure.
And give us a little idea. Watch out for the debris. And just amazing. How many volunteers have come out today? They're everywhere.
Yeah, there's people from churches and schools, and we lost the school right over here. It's completely gone, but even their staff is out here helping us and taking care of everything. So, yeah, as you can see, if you look right here to your right, that's the staircase that fell down on me right there. There's a doorway that you'll find around the corner, but yeah, and then there's the truck itself.
Yeah, the truck in the pool, that's an image that probably has already gone viral.
Yeah, I think so. It's been on a few reports and papers and things like that. It was about 35 feet behind it where it was now.
So it was over on the other side of the house.
Correct.
In the driveway.
Yep, and it just picked it up and threw it like a toy. That's an 8,000-pound truck.
Wow. And how long did it take you to get out? Did you have to move debris to get out of the lower level, the basement?
We did. Because of what happened to the house, everything was stuck and jammed, so the doors wouldn't open. We had to kick those down and break them open, and then we were able to crawl out from right behind where you're standing now.
And after that, everybody comes out?
Yeah, we were all standing. We walked up this driveway. Our neighbors here were outside with their animals, and we walked up on this driveway here, and then there's power lines down and snapping and popping and everything. It just felt like a war. And you're looking at your home that you've had for 7 years, just completely gone and ripped away, trying to think about what we need to do next, and that's just get to safety at that point. We also were told there's another round of storms coming at 4 a.m., and it was 3 o'clock in the morning at that point. So we were trying to just get out of harm's way.
Yeah, I saw those. So
yeah.
No severe weather, but a lot of lightning and heavy rain.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, is water was just everywhere. The basement started filling up with water. So it's just kind of one of those, everywhere you looked, it was bad.
Well, I'm so happy that you came off hardly without a scratch, which is almost a miracle.
It is a miracle, 100%. The fact that Wendy, my wife, and we walked out of this in any form or fashion is a miracle in itself. So, yeah, the fact that we're not beat up or scratched or, just able to be here and work and volunteer as well.
And just before we got on the air, you got a phone call from your insurance agent.
Yep, they are. I use State Farm. They've already unloaded a couple extra plane loads of agents and things like that, and they're going to be here tomorrow morning to start assessing this entire neighborhood as their focus.
Well, you've got a great attitude.
Thank you. It's man,
so
it's just
positive.
stuff. It's just
Yeah.
stuff. You know, the fact that my wife is alive is number one.
Exactly.
And
Got your
the dogs. Yeah. So we can rebuild. We can get more junk, and Amazon can deliver more things to us. So
that was crazy. And I think that by the 4th of July, you'll be back out at the pool.
back in the pool. I'll buy you a beer. Come on.
Well, maybe the house won't be done, but you'll get the truck out of there.
There you go.
The truck is probably a total loss, you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that one is, and then her car is behind that over there is a total
there it
loss
is,
as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that we're looking at full replacement on that.
And you've checked with all your friends. As far as you know, everybody's in pretty good shape in this particular neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because we know there's 2 fatalities in this county.
Correct, and I know that nobody in this neighborhood, we haven't lost anybody yet.
Well, that's great. Well, Hunter Briley, thanks for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us. That was just an amazing story. You look at this pile of rubble, and you just wonder how he was able to survive, his wife, his 2 dogs, and to get out and have such a great attitude about what happened and even laugh. But the pool and the truck, that's
Pretty wild, isn't it?
yeah, I've seen a lot of damage, and it's really heartbreaking and tough to see, but that is something I've never seen, a truck in a pool.
Pretty wild.
And you said 2,800 pounds, right?
It's 8,000 pounds.
Or I'm sorry, 8,000 pounds.
It's an 8,000-pound truck.
So 4 tons.
I just bought it, so within the last year. So to walk out and see that was pretty heartbreaking. But again, like I said, it's stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Can we walk in there? In there real quick?
Please be
We
very
got some
careful.
time. We'll be very careful. Ronnie Hall's going to follow us over here. We'll take a look, and you can show us where you were in here.
Sure.
Pardon our backs to the camera. We'll go in.
Careful, guys.
Yeah, we'll be careful.
You might want a light on if you have it. That's the stair.
That's the stairwell.
That fell down on me.
I don't know, Ronnie, you can see that there. This is a stairwell that fell down on you.
And we were hiding in this corner over here, right in the back here.
So that wall really saved you.
Absolutely.
Because that part of the house
It's up against the dirt. Yeah.
underground. So that saved you over there. So,
Correct.
So you were over there on the couch with the dogs and your wife.
Correct. We had a blanket, and I was just laying on top of them.
And then you walk out here, and let's walk through here. Sure. We've got the laundry room. This held up pretty good. And here's the garage, and this back wall held up pretty good. Again, that's against
Against
the
dirt.
earth.
Yeah. That's dug in, the 8 or 9 feet that it is. This is after all the volunteer work that has pulled everything out. It was fully trashed and everything. This garage door was completely dented in. The side of the house you can see here, it fell on the car, on my wife's car.
And this is where her car was parked.
Correct.
And yours was over there?
Correct. It was right
So
over
it got picked up
and thrown over here.
and thrown into the pool.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, you see this on video, and it just happens in like literally three or
3 or
four
4
seconds.
seconds. Correct. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. All the major mess happened really, really quickly. So,
Well, a lot of cleanup. I saw them cutting these trees down just a moment ago. You can see all the volunteers across this neighborhood. Again, we're in the Donelson neighborhood, east side of Nashville. High-end EF-3 preliminary rating, 160 to 165 miles an hour. 166 is EF-4, so we'll see if they ramp it up. But based on seeing this and the school, the brick wall getting blown down over there, it's easily high-end EF-3, if not low-end EF-4.
wow, that's just amazing. I can, like I said, this is the first one I've been in, but it felt like we were in the middle of it for sure.
Okay, Hunter Briley, thanks for your time.
Absolutely, thank
Best
you.
of luck to you and your family. You're insured. You've got your health, your wife, your dogs, and you can get all this replaced. And I said you're going to be back in this pool by the 4th of July.
There you go. Absolutely, it's a deal.
Okay, Chris, back to you.
Hey, Mike, it's Mark at the Weather Channel. First of all, incredible story. Thanks so much for bringing that to us. I wanted to hear a little bit about what it was like for you to get into this neighborhood today, because I'm sure it's not just, one small area of damage. What was it like to get to your location?
I have to be honest with you, it wasn't that bad to get in today. Yesterday would have been a whole different story. That's one of the reasons we didn't even come over here yesterday. But today was not bad to get in. It's not a very wide path, and the roads coming in were open. Yesterday we had telephone poles down. The houses were in much better shape yesterday. We're in the Buena Vista subdivision. Houses were standing. They lost some shingles and there was some tree damage on houses, but it was telephone poles blocking roads. Out here, the telephone poles, a lot of them are gone. They got snapped down. And you got to remember, 24 hours, it's been almost 36 hours since the tornado hit, a little bit more than 36 hours. They've come out here with the heavy equipment and bulldozers. A little later on, Mark, we're going to go down the street and show you the school. And it's a total loss, and it's another visual that has to be seen to be believed from this high-end, at least high-end EF-3 tornado. Mark?
And Mike, the other thing that stands out, not only from that gentleman's story about getting down to that lowest level, is the camera was kind of panning around a lot of roof damage and upper-level damage, but if people were able to get into that basement, it seems like everyone would have been able to walk out from those basements in that neighborhood, which is, you know, exactly why we tell people to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They're in the back of that basement, and on the other side of the wall is just the earth. It's dirt. So you get back there, everything blows over you, and nothing's going to blow that wall in because it's underground. And although this is a daylight basement, if you have a daylight basement like I do, we have a spot where we go, and you just go all the way to the back against the earth, against where it's built in to the ground, and that's going to be your safest place because you're underground and you're away from right here. You don't want to be here, you don't want to be here because that can collapse, but you get all the way back, and that is your safest place. As it turned out, the whole family survived, the 2 dogs, and basically without a scratch.
Incredible story from Mike Seidel. We'll check back in with Mike as we go through the next couple hours here on Weather Center Live here at the Weather Channel.
On the east side of Nashville is Donelson. And that's a neighborhood where we find meteorologist Mike Seidel near a school, Mike, that appears to be closed indefinitely because of the damage.
Yes, the Donelson Christian Academy, one end of the school is a total loss. The other end looks like it's in better shape. It's a big school, over 1,000 students, grades K through 12. We talked to a student earlier, a junior, and she's not sure where they're going to end up to finish out the school year, but they have spring break next week. Back here, we're just around the corner where we were before. We had to get down here away from the chainsaws, a sure sign of the cleanup. Gentlemen out here, these volunteers with the chainsaws taking down these trees, a lot of them shredded. You can see this one here, they took off the top limbs and left the rest of it to grow back out. And debris piled everywhere. They've had, about 36 hours since yesterday morning, a little less than that, since the rain moved out about 7, 8 o'clock yesterday morning. There's a telephone pole. This is what we've seen through the neighborhood. Telephone poles have been sheared off, so there are no poles. You're going to have to come back in here and put all the poles back up and run the wiring. When you think about it, most of these homes on this street, until you get over here, are really not livable. They've lost their roofs. And over here, look at this. We talk about high-end EF-3 damage. You want to look for brick walls that have been blown out. You can see that brick wall right there. And there's even worse damage you get towards the school. And we talked to one of the homeowners earlier, Hunter Briley, who lost his home and came out basically without a scratch. Here's his story.
12:30, I think the tornado sirens in town started going off. Woke me up. My wife and I were asleep in what was our bedroom down on that end of the house. I turned the news on, and we were given a 3-minute heads up that the tornado cell was like going to hit Donelson right around then. So woke her up, grabbed the dogs, and we ran downstairs into our basement. We have 2 dogs, they're boxers. Our little boy ran back upstairs just out of fear, I believe, jumped in our bed. So I ran back upstairs and grabbed him and carried him back to the downstairs area, and literally as my feet were hitting the last step, the house came down on me, and wow. The entire back wall fell on top of me. I got out of it and ran over to my wife and jumped on top of her and cuddled the dogs in with us and put a blanket over us, and then the house, it felt like an explosion because of the pressure change, I guess.
And they went down to the basement, the daylight basement, went all the way to the back where the wall's against the earth. It's underground, and that's what saved them. And they got out okay with basically out of scratch. The dogs are fine. The truck is in the pool, and they've got insurance. So everything is working out. More importantly, their lives are okay, and they can move on and rebuild. This is what we're talking about here. Now, in the distance between these two houses, you can see the brick wall of the Donelson Christian Academy. Now, that end of the school, which is farther away from the center of the path, did okay. But let me show you the before and after via Google Earth of the front, the parking lot, the main entrance of the Donelson Christian Academy here in the suburb of Nashville, the east side of Nashville. You can see the before and after and what this high-end EF-3 tornado did in this neighborhood. This is where they had the winds estimated by the Weather Service 160 to 165 miles an hour. Remember, 166 is the bottom threshold for an EF-4, and we'll see if they end up classifying this one or the one in Cookeville, which is as an EF-4. We're not certain, and we still don't know if it's one tornado or two tornadoes. Weather Service is going to have to look at all their path, the path report, take a look at all their data, what they've seen from the sky, and try to figure out if we've got one twister, one long track tornado, or two, or maybe even three. Again, this house, a total loss. They're going to have to, I think they're going to have to bulldoze this house. It's just a function of how much water damage, because after the tornado moved through and the rain ended, we had another batch of showers and thunderstorms yesterday morning, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, that dumped a lot of rain. And so you've got a lot of water damage. So this house may have to be bulldozed. But you can see all the trees, all the debris, and in the distance there goes the plane. We're just north of the airport, BNA, Nashville International. So this just missed the airport, but I can tell you a lot of the hotels near the airport yesterday were having problems with communication because of the power outages. Power obviously out here because we don't have any poles, but the cleanup continues. It's going to continue for days, if not weeks. They'll come in here and clean all this up, then they'll come in with the heavy equipment and take the homes down, and then the rebuilding process starts, and that takes months, Mark, to get people back in here and back in their homes. But we've got more severe weather today along the Gulf Coast, including we've had some earlier tornado warnings. What's the latest right now on the severe threat and the flood threat? Yeah,
luckily it seems like we've had a bit of a lull as to what today could have been.
Yeah, still a lot of cleanup to do, as we just said. Mike Seidel in the Donelson neighborhood. He's got a live update for us. Mike, we've seen a lot of people coming and going throughout the day, bringing in machinery or tools or taking debris out.
A little bit of both. A lot of volunteers out here. In fact, we have this person walking out right now, coming out with a load of debris, going all the way up the hill here, trying to get out here. It's not bad today. They got the bulldozers in here yesterday, and as a result, they got the roads open. This is a chassis from one of the school portables from the Donelson Christian Academy. This blew about 100 yards from over there, 3 houses down. You can see kind of the roof of the school in the distance. A lot of the school on the back end is fine, but that front is complete loss. And the kids are on spring break coming up next week, and they'll figure out where those students go. About 1,100 students. Then we come down the hill, and we talked to Hunter Briley earlier. This is the debris that lines these streets here, and the city will have to come in and get all this up, and then they'll come in and decide whether the homes have to be leveled with the insurance adjusters, and then they start the rebuilding process. But this is the home where Hunter Briley, his wife and 2 dogs, rode the tornado out. And we talked to him earlier about the experience and what went down as the sirens went off.
12:30, I think the tornado sirens in town started going off. Woke me up. My wife and I were asleep in what was our bedroom down on that end of the house. I turned the news on, and we were given a 3-minute heads up that the tornado cell was like going to hit Donelson right around then. So woke her up, grabbed the dogs, and we ran downstairs into our basement. We have 2 dogs, they're boxers. Our little boy ran back upstairs just out of fear, I believe, jumped in our bed. So I ran back upstairs and grabbed him and carried him back to the downstairs area, and literally as my feet were hitting the last step, the house came down on me, and wow. The entire back wall fell on top of me. I got out of it and ran over to my wife and jumped on top of her and cuddled the dogs in with us and put a blanket over us, and then the house, it felt like an explosion because of the pressure change, I guess.
And they came out okay. Everything was kind of locked because of the pressure and the house moving, but they finally got out, and basically without a scratch. The dogs are okay. Hunter, one of the best attitudes I've ever seen from someone going through this kind of tragedy. But again, it's all about saving your life and coming out, and you can rebuild this. In fact, he's already heard from his insurance agent. This is the truck. This is his truck that was around the other side of the driveway, and it ended up in the pool. And they've a lot of cleanup. Even since we got here about 3-4 hours ago, they have cleaned up a lot around this pool, cut down the trees. You can hear the chainsaws in the background, and you can see the damage. Now, as you go farther up the hill, you get out of the damage path, and you can see those homes at the top of the hill were untouched. But once again, we don't even know how wide the damage path was. I'm going to say at least a quarter to a half a mile. I'm just guessing. And remember, this is high-end EF-3 damage. Real quick, I'll show you where they rode out the tornado. They rode it out in here. And one of the things we talk about is getting down into your basement if you have a basement. And if you have a daylight basement, I have one of those. And the best part about a daylight basement is the back wall is up against the earth. So you go there in the back wall, and you're going to be likely in pretty good shape unless something blows in. But you get back there, that's where they were, and you cover yourself with something to keep the flying debris away from you. And then that's what they did, and they came out in real good shape. The house, not so much, but as we know, everything can be rebuilt. But this image of the truck in the pool, this is a 4-ton truck, 4 tons, 8,000 pounds. So you think about the force of the wind. And the high-end EF-3, which was the preliminary estimate out here, that's winds 160, 165, the estimated. So Mike and Alex, quite the picture out here. I would say this is the hardest hit neighborhood in Nashville, not to make the other neighborhoods that they had a lot of damage, but as far, I should say, as what I'm trying to say is how the tornado was rated. The other neighborhoods, EF-1, EF-2, this was EF-3 along with Mount Joliet off to our east, and then over in Putnam County, the Cookeville tornado has also had a preliminary rating of an EF-3.
Mike, the images are really stunning, what you're showing us. What are they trying to get out of their home? Is there anything salvageable in some of these homes? I imagine, you know, family heirlooms, mementos, or pictures, stuff like that they're looking for.
That's basically what they can salvage. Remember, once you lose your roof, then the rain comes in. So once the tornado came through, it was still raining, but that ended. But then what happened is, yesterday morning, I remember I rolled over in about 5, 6 o'clock for a couple of hours. They had a tremendous amount of rain and lightning, no more severe weather. So these houses that lost their roofs during the twister then got hit by another downpour that lasted a couple of hours. So you've got a lot of water damage. So basically everything in the house is ruined. Maybe some appliances can be saved. Maybe some of the stuff you saw in the basement that stayed dry, some couches. But a lot of these houses are, I just saw them pull, it looked like a yearbook out of this debris here. So they're getting rid of the bricks here. And that's just a sign of probably what the Weather Service saw. When you have a brick wall taken out by a tornado, you're talking EF-3 damage. So this is why they classified that at this point preliminary. And Mike announced we still don't know if it's 1 or 2 twisters, maybe 3, but they haven't figured that out. They're going to have to put all the surveys together and see if we have 1 long path or 2 distinct paths. But basically it went from west to east, starting on the west and northwest side of Nashville, where we were yesterday, Buena Vista neighborhood, and then went across the river over here. Then it went all the way over into Putnam County. Again, I'm assuming 1 tornado, but we don't know if that's the case at this point.
My couple of questions for you. It's a ton of debris. Have the residents been giving any instruction on where to put it or when it's going to be picked up? And second question is, there's a lot of people that are homeless right now. You know, have you talked to anybody about where they're staying or what their situation is for housing?
Well, as far as the debris, they've been told to put it out on the streets. I talked to one gentleman earlier, and it's obvious. We've got piles of debris lining the streets. We'll show you more of that through the evening on Weather Underground. I don't know what the city has planned, but usually they hire, as we saw recently, they hire a big, one big company. They contract them out, or the city does it itself, and they come out and get all this debris out of here. And then they can really come in and start the rebuilding process as far as taking these homes out and starting to rebuild or doing the reconstruction of some of these homes that, like in the distance on the edge of the path, that just need roofs. As far as where people are staying, well, we've got 5 shelters open for Nashville. I believe 1 over in the Cookeville area. And so people are staying there, but a lot of these folks are staying with friends and relatives. The family here is staying with their parents, with the dogs, so that, you know, everybody's pitching in and helping out in this situation. And thank goodness the weather has been absolutely perfect yesterday and today. No rain, no thunder, no more severe weather. You know, Mike, covering tornadoes, you've been in this situation. You have a round of severe weather and tornadoes, and you may have another round the next day, especially deeper into spring and the summer, or it can be very cold and rainy, or as we've seen, we even have snow sometimes after tornado hits. So they've been very fortunate that they've had 2 excellent days and several more to come where they don't have to worry. One less worry of all the worries they have. They don't have to worry about the weather here in Nashville.
Absolutely. And hey, where in relation to downtown Nashville is the Donelson neighborhood?
Okay, we're just a little bit east and northeast of the downtown area. In fact, there goes another Southwest jet. We're just north of the airport. I mean, we're just a stone's throw from the airport. The local general aviation airport got demolished. Can you imagine if this had gone through BNA, the international airport? But fortunately, unfortunately for these folks, fortunately for the airport, it's okay. But we're just north of there, and the tornado went just basically almost west to east across the northern suburbs of Nashville, and then moved over into Putnam County over in the Cookeville area. So not far, you know, 15-minute drive from the downtown area. Yesterday when we were on with you, we were only a couple miles from downtown and the high-rises. Yeah. So it's very close. Again, the myth that tornadoes don't hit cities goes out the window again.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much.
Welcome back to East Nashville. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. We're in the Donelson neighborhood. One of the hardest hit neighborhoods with this one, maybe 2 tornadoes. We don't know yet, but this is high-end EF-3 damage. Winds estimated by the National Weather Service 160 to 165. And you can see these volunteers cleaning up bricks. The wall over here, Hunter Briley's house, was knocked down. In fact, the whole first level there is pretty much gone. He and his wife and 2 dogs got down to the daylight basement, got to the back wall, and survived basically without a scratch. We talk about, there's the Trinidad Island Grill. Now, they came in and provided food at no cost today for the volunteers, so a shout out to them locally here in Nashville. That was nice of them to do it. Talked to one lady who had a grilled cheese sandwich. She said, I haven't had one of these in years. One of the homeowners said it's never tasted so good. Now, you asked me earlier, Mike and Alex, about where they're putting the debris, and you can see they pulled away from these houses. Now, this is a chassis from a portable classroom from the Christian Academy down the street, Donelson Christian Academy, and that's over there between here and the athletic field floodlights. That part of the school is a total loss. I don't know if we have it up, Christina Westbrook back in the control room, but we have a before and after pictures of the school. If we don't have it up now, we'll get it up in the next segment and show you what. Okay, we don't have it right now. Thanks, Christina. We'll try to get that to you later. And you'll see the before and after when this twister hit. About 12:35 yesterday morning, 12:40, and they had about a 6-minute warning in this county. So debris lined up. Let's come on down here, and we'll take a better look at the school, at least this end. Now, this is a big school. 1,100 kids go here. We talked to some of the students, and they were happy that everybody was okay, and even happier, you know, probably one of the few benefits of a tornado hitting at 12:30 in the morning and hitting a school is that nobody's in the school. You know, you don't even want to really think about, Mike and Alex, what the situation would have been if this had hit 12 hours earlier or later in the middle of the day. So everybody's okay, and again, this part of the school is a total loss. In fact, they just put up this fence. And the ball fields, look at the light stands over in the ball fields have been blown down. Baseball field dugouts are gone. Scoreboard's been ripped to shreds as the tornado came across here early yesterday morning. Just a real mess. But as far as we know, nobody in this neighborhood was killed or seriously injured. In fact, everybody we've seen that rode out the tornado basically has not even a scratch on their body.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Again, timing great for a school. Unfortunately, when you get into the homes where people were sleeping. But Mike Seidel, thank you so much. He's been bringing us some really incredible, you know, every time we deal with a tornado, the images that we see are always kind of jaw-dropping. But
incredible images that you're showing us this evening. Really appreciate that.
We are back in Tennessee, in central Tennessee, just east of downtown Nashville, in the Donelson neighborhood. And this is one of the hardest hit areas from this one long track tornado now, at least 50 miles on the ground through 3 counties, including here in Davidson County. And this is the Hunter Briley house. He, his wife, and dog survived by going downstairs into the daylight basement, into the back wall, which effectively is underground. But this is probably the image that really sticks in your mind out here in this neighborhood. This is his truck. It weighs 4 tons, 8,000 pounds, and it was over on the other side of the driveway, around the corner from his wife's car. It got picked up and thrown into the pool. 8,000 pounds of truck. So just goes to show you what they dodged. The whole top level of the house basically sheared off. They went running downstairs. He actually had to go back up as one of the dogs ran back upstairs, and as he came down the stairs, the house collapsed, and they went into to the back wall again, went under a blanket, and that's how they rode out the tornado. And you know, this all happens in less than a minute. They finally got out of the house. In fact, we talked to a gentleman earlier across the street, one of his neighbors, and he called Hunter on the cell phone, and Hunter answered and found out he was okay, and then everybody came out here. You remember it was about 12:45 in the morning yesterday morning, just after midnight, that the twister hit here and came across the north side of Nashville over here, ended up over in Putnam County. So quite an experience for this family. They're okay. Everybody we know of in this neighborhood came out without getting seriously injured, which is amazing. There were 2 fatalities in Davidson County.
Meteorologist Mike Seidel has been there for the past 2 days. Mike, it seems like everything you show us, the neighborhood looks worse than the neighborhood before.
This is the worst we've seen in Nashville, high-end EF-3 damage, and this area was teeming, this Donelson neighborhood was teeming with folks. We must have had 250 people out here between residents and neighbors and family and friends, and a whole litany, a host of volunteers. Now there's about 7 or 8 people left out here in addition to us. This is the Hunter Briley home, and we talked to him earlier. What a story. They were upstairs. They got the warning actually from the Weather Channel, and they went downstairs with their 2 dogs, and we'll show you that a little later on and give you an idea, but they went downstairs. This is a daylight basement, so right down here they were on a couch, but that back wall is against the earth and is underground, so they were fine. They got out without a scratch, but goes to show you what's left is not much on this first level right here. Look at the stop sign. Another visual of the power of the wind. This is over in the Buena Vista neighborhood. This is where we were this time yesterday. Wind coming through here. Now the damage in that area and in Germantown was EF-2. That would be 111 to 100, I believe, 35 miles an hour. So it peeled the stop sign apart, Alex and Mike. Some of the visuals, I mean, we've actually seen straws drilled into telephone poles. So something like that is not that surprising.
All right, Mike Seidel, thank you so much. We look at the damage.
The home county to Nashville. Alex and Mike.
Mike Seidel is in the Donelson area. He's got a live update for us tonight. Mike, another day where people had time to assess, time to clean up, maybe salvage what they could, but some of these homes are a complete loss.
Yeah, like the one behind me, Hunter Briley's home. We're in the Donelson area. This is east of downtown Nashville, where we had the high-end EF-3 damage. Weather Service preliminary report yesterday, that's winds of 160 to 165. 166 is the break-even. You go into a low-end EF-4. With that said, this is where they were early yesterday morning. The tornado hit about 12:40. They had about a 6-minute lead time. They were back there in their bedroom, but they survived. Hunter Briley picks up the story from there, describing exactly what they did as soon as he heard the warning on the television.
12:30, I think the tornado sirens in town started going off. Woke me up. My wife and I were asleep in what was our bedroom down on that end of the house. I turned the news on, and we were given a 3-minute heads up that the tornado cell was like going to hit Donelson right around then. So woke her up, grabbed the dogs, and we ran downstairs into our basement. We have 2 dogs, they're boxers. Our little boy ran back upstairs just out of fear, I believe, jumped in our bed. So I ran back upstairs and grabbed him and carried him back to the downstairs area, and literally as my feet were hitting the last step, the house came down on me, and
Wow.
the entire back wall fell on top of me. I got out of it and ran over to my wife and jumped on top of her and cuddled the dogs in with us and put a blanket over us. And then the house, it felt like an explosion because of the pressure change, I guess.
Let me show you where they were. This is the entrance and exit to the daylight basement. Rodney Hall will come in here with his light, and they were back in here, back on that couch. He actually had to go back upstairs, as he mentioned, because one of the dogs got loose and went back upstairs. And then as he came down the stairs, the wall crashed on the steps. So he got down here with seconds to spare, and they came right over here. And remember, in the daylight basement back here, this wall's against the earth, so you're effectively underground. It's not a true tornado shelter, but it's pretty darn safe, and they were over here with a blanket over them to keep away flying debris. And then moments later, they were able to get this door unjammed, and they came back outside. And this is what he saw. One of the first things he saw was his 4-ton, 8,000-pound pickup truck, which was over on the other side of the house on the driveway behind his wife's car, which has gotten destroyed, was picked up and dropped and blown into their backyard pool. So that's the visual that we saw today. I've never seen something like this, but you can imagine the force of the wind. We mentioned high-end EF-3 pushing 160-plus miles an hour. Those are the estimated winds based on the National Weather Service survey. So, you know, he's got insurance. Everybody's fine. He and his wife and dogs got out without a scratch. But Alex and Mike, what a story. And they did exactly what you're supposed to do. Interior room, lowest level of the house or building you're in. They went down to the interior room, lowest level, and they went to the back of the room, as I said, against the earth. So they're literally protected by the ground. Although they have some windows, things can get blown in. So they had the blanket over them to keep away the flying debris, and they came out and are in great shape.
Absolutely. Well, Mike Seidel, thank you. Mike.
Good evening. Welcome back to the Weather Channel. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. We're on the east side of Nashville in the Donelson neighborhood, and this is one of the hardest hit areas, including the area around 5 Points and the area in Nashville itself called East Nashville. And this area here sustained at least high-end EF-3 damage. We know this tornado now was on the ground for at least 50-plus miles. That's a long track tornado. And a second tornado is the one they're still looking at, another at least EF-3 tornado in Putnam County, where there was at least 18 people killed. Here in this neighborhood, nobody lost their life. Nobody seriously injured as far as we know. This is the Hunter Briley house. He and his wife and 2 dogs. They were over here in the bedroom. They ran downstairs and got into the back wall against the earth. It's a daylight basement, so you come in and then you go in, you walk back to the wall. Now, earlier today, this place was teeming with people. There must have been 50 people just at this house alone trying to salvage stuff, trying to clean up stuff. Just a very busy neighborhood. Hundreds of volunteers across the city of Nashville, some local churches, people driving in from out of state. Also, you had friends and neighbors, people pitching in. In fact, we just had a local barbecue restaurant come through with sandwiches, not realizing that everybody pretty much had cleared out once the sun went down. But they'll be back out here tomorrow. Another good weather day. That's the thing we had going for us the past couple of days. Yesterday was sunny. Today we had the clouds, but the rain staying to our south. You can imagine what it would be like to undertake this process with the kind of rain we're seeing across Georgia and Alabama and the Gulf Coast. This right here, this is their stovetop, gas top, and ovens. They were able to salvage that. Also, we've got a dishwasher in the back that looks salvageable. But by and large, the house will be taken down, and they'll start from scratch. They do have insurance like just about everybody.
I want to take you right into the heart of some of it in Donelson in Middle Tennessee. Mike Seidel is there. Mike, I know you've seen a lot of tornado damage in your career. This one has to rank right up there with some of these well-built, well-framed homes that have just been crushed.
And for that reason, that's why this was rated a high-end EF-3. The winds estimated by the Weather Service in Nashville, 160 to 165. That's right up against the EF-4 threshold of 166. And you can see this is the Hunter Briley home. They were in the bedroom when the tornado hit. They knew about the watch. They heard the sirens. They saw the warning on the Weather Channel. Then they went downstairs very quickly with their dogs. And they survived by going to the back of the daylight basement, effectively. Whoa, excuse me. They were right under here, right there, right under there, and effectively against the earth, and it's almost like an underground tornado shelter. They have some windows, so they cover themselves up from any kind of flying debris. Then he told us what happened after the tornado hit.
Because of what happened to the house, everything was stuck and jammed, so the doors wouldn't open. We had to kick those down and break them open, and then we were able to crawl out from right behind where you're standing now.
And after that, everybody comes out?
Yeah, we were all standing. We walked up this driveway. Our neighbors here were outside with their animals, and we walked up on this driveway here, and then there's power lines down and snapping and popping and everything. It just felt like a war. And you're looking at your home that you've had for 7 years, just completely gone and ripped away, trying to think about what we need to do next, and that's just get to safety at that point. We also were told there's another round of storms coming at 4 a.m., and it was 3 o'clock in the morning at that point. So we were trying to just get out of harm's way.
And this is where they came out of their daylight basement right here after the tornado hit, and this is what they found. First thing he saw was his 4-ton truck that had been picked up on the driveway that he mentioned. They walked up to the street, and it got picked up and dropped right in to the pool here in the backyard. They're insured, Alex, and I told them that I bet they're going to be out here on the 4th of July enjoying a hot summer day here in Central Tennessee.
Yeah, here's hoping. Yeah, you know, things will change. They've got what matters. You know, they're okay. Their dogs, their family's intact. So the rebuilding will just take a little time, but it'll be back to normal. Mike Seidel, thank you so much.
We've talked to out here, Mike and Alex.
All right, Mike.
Mike Seidel has been spending the day in the Donelson neighborhood. Mike, you talked to that family, incredibly lucky, you know, to come out from that house. But some of the things they saw after they left their home, truly astounding. That truck in the pool is something I won't forget.
Yeah, that's kind of the image of the day out here. You know, yeah, you look at all these pictures, but look behind me right here. This is the house they were in. The tornado hit about 12:40 in the morning. It was really the night before last. It was early yesterday morning. The Hunter Briley home with his wife and 2 dogs, they were over here on the right side in the bedroom, and then they ran downstairs, and he had to come back up. One of the dogs ran back upstairs. As soon as he got down the steps to the daylight basement, the steps collapsed and bricks came down. And I want to show you what I'm talking about. We talk about EF-3 damage, and the Weather Service tends to look for sturdy brick walls that get knocked over, and that's what we're looking at right here. And on the side of the house, that whole side was blown down by the tornado. So this is certainly EF-3 damage. I'm not exactly sure if this is what they determined was the high end, 160 to 165 miles an hour. And you look through here, the bedroom, the shower back there, looks like the dishwasher's fine. And then the back side, we've shown you several times today, his 4-ton truck that is in the pool. It got picked up from the side of the house, picked up and then blown and dropped in to the pool, and that's the visual Alex was talking about. Another great weather day today, really a good day today and yesterday, and more on the way. The rain stays out of here, and you couldn't have asked for anything nicer because you're out here trying to clean up, trying to pick up some memories and possessions, and you really don't want to do that in a pouring rain. It just adds insult to injury. So they've had good weather. Hundreds of volunteers across the city of Nashville coming in from out of state, a lot of churches, a lot of, for instance, the Donelson Christian Academy is just down the hill, and a lot of the Nashville area Christian schools came in here to pitch in to help out their friends and neighbors. So we see this all the time, Alex and Mike, everywhere we go, whether it's after a tornado or after a hurricane.
You know, Mike, one image that you showed our viewers earlier in the show was this stop sign that had basically been peeled back to expose 2 sides of it. I personally would say, I never knew that a stop sign had 2 pieces of metal sandwiched together. This is something new that I've never seen before. It's stunning.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, because you look at a stop sign, and maybe this is maybe they're made in different, you know, ways. Maybe you've got the one piece of metal, maybe you have the two pieces slapped together like two pancakes. But yeah, there's the stop sign. This is from the Buena Vista neighborhood in Nashville, just north of downtown. And we're thinking this is EF-2 damage. That puts the winds as high as about 135 miles an hour. But just to see it peel back like that, I mean, that's amazing. Just the power of the wind, and it all happens, as they've told us here, we hear this all the time, Mike, you've seen this. This happens in about 30 to 40 seconds, less than a minute, and it's gone. And this house is almost gone.
Yep, it certainly is. Mike, thanks so much for the reports this evening. You know, every tornado is different. Every tornado shows us something different. Thank you.
Seidel reporting there from Nashville. Thank you so much.